Magandang hapon, nakikinig kayo sa Radyo Kapwa, CKUT 90.3 FM.
For all Filipinos are Filipino now.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Bon après-midi, good afternoon. Welcome to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. I'm joined today by Veronica Bertiz, Desiree Ruiz, Laura Kaluya, and I am Fran Stoner, and we're so happy to have you here today. Welcome to our 20th episode! Yay!
Yay!
Woohoo! So exciting. Such an incredible milestone. We're super happy to be back on air. For those who don't know, we used to be Sigaw ng Bayan that had about a 15-year run and unfortunately was not able to be sustained. So there was about 4 or 5 year hiatus, and we are back with Radio Kapwa. So for episode 20, we just want to talk a little bit about milestones. But today for our icebreaker, just wanted to ask my dear friends and colleagues in beautiful Kapwa here, what are some milestones that really stuck out to you in your life? And, you know, when I was asking myself this question, the first thing I thought of was like earning a degree. And then I was like, wait, no, that's like such a like capitalist milestone, you know? So actually I think like one of the significant milestones for me was just like moving out for the first time, like moving out, having your space, having your freedom, being able to do your own thing. And I know that's like such a privilege when a lot of us from immigrant cultures kind of have to stay home intergenerationally for a while, and like our own spaces is a space where we could just find ourselves and heal and grow. So I think a significant milestone for me was moving out for the first time. How about you folks?
Oh my God, when was that, friends?
Oh my gosh, that was a very, very, very long time ago. Very long time ago. Yeah. The only scary thing is too, though, is like you start paying rent and then you never stop, right? But hey, it's a part of it. It's a part of it. How about you, Vero?
Significant. I was about to say degrees as well. And like, I'm no longer a student. So this is the first ever year that I'm not like racking my brain for finals. But also every finals is my birthday. So I will celebrate me because that's a Veronica way to do it. Very significant.
Happy birthday, Diego!
Thank you. It's my birthday. Just like Kala says.
Yes, Veronica and my son Kalayaan are birthday twins. So shout out to all the Sagittariuses out there celebrating their December birthdays. And yeah, sorry, some of your celebrations get lumped into Christmas celebrations, but we love you nonetheless.
That's why we just really want to highlight it's our birthday. Just me. And I know it's Burr months, but it's my day today. I definitely did all of those. It's my birthday today. You want to go to that classroom because there's food. You know, I did that when I was younger. So I guess for a milestone that I want to share is me being 28. I can't believe I'm 28. I stopped counting after 25. At this point, I just tell people what year I was born, and that's it. You know, if you want to judge me according to my age, then I was born at this year. So that's something that there's a lot of reflection on my birthday. As you can say, as you said, France, like getting a degree. I finished my paralegal as well. I'm embarking into a new. I'm in the in between of like no longer a student, entering my adulthood like a real adult, paying rent and those kind of things. But it did remind me of moving out and how I was actually able to start healing, to have your own space, to start knowing what you like, what you don't like. I always say the example of the lights. I like mood lights. I'm that maarte. So I like my mood light. I like different shades depending on what I was feeling the blue and those kind of things. So that's when I actually get to know myself. And it's been, luckily for me, and I'm privileged enough to be able to move. It's been 5 years officially. Actually, we moved in on December as well. So it was like a birthday gift to me, I guess. But yeah, I was able to find a lot about myself and what I don't like and what I like. Like I actually am not a breakfast person, which was quite weird. Coffee and like a slice of bread or pandesal for me is great, and that's pretty much it. I thought I've always been a silog person, but that's not me. So significant milestones I want to share. Me, my birthday. And then I just want to echo back to what Fran said about moving out and having your place and being able to discover yourself is a privilege. within itself. So yeah, I cede la parole to Des. How about you, Des?
Yeah, happy birthday celebration, Vero and Kalayaan. So it's funny when I was like, all right, my degree also. And then Fran said what you said earlier. And I was like, oh no, it's not my degree. And I was like, wait, is it my degree? Is it having a kid? But it is graduating from university. But the reason why that is the milestone that really came up to me was because, so just some context, I went into university, I was always told, follow the yellow brick road, be safe, get the university degree, get the good job, good and secure job, right? So I went into university, got into accounting because it was safe. I didn't even like accounting. I didn't even like numbers, but it was like not easy to get into accounting. I got in. So I was like, all right, I'm going to be safe. My parents are happy. I went in and I dropped out after a year. Right. And my mom was like, you're on your own if you want to go back to school. So it was this huge failure, right? Failure to myself, failure to my family, this disappointment. I got into this, I got into accounting. And then so I took a year and a half off and didn't know what I was supposed to do, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And my mother basically cut me off and said, you're on your own. And I did some reflection at the time, and I think I was maybe 20 something, maybe around your age, maybe 26. And I said, okay, what do I want to do? And I knew that I wanted to go back to school, but I said, if and when I do go back to school, I'm going to go into something that I want to do. And I was always a people person. So I went back to school when I was ready on my terms, when I had saved up enough money, because my mother said, if you want to go back to school, you pay for it on your own. And I went back to business, but I went to marketing because I liked people, and marketing back then, there was no social media. Like it wasn't safe. I mean, there wasn't the same security in marketing that there was back then in something like finance or accounting. But I knew that I liked to be around people, and I was honoring my need for connection and community. So I went into marketing, and nobody understood it. But then I did it part-time at night while working full-time during the day to be able to financially put myself through school, and then bartending on the weekends where I met friends. But I did it. I graduated years after my friends. And I did it on my own in a program that I chose. And again, from immigrant parents, doing what you want to do is not always the case for us, right? So here I am, immigrant kid that actually went back on my own terms and did it. And it was, again, still, and we just recently went back to Concordia for our parole workshop. Like going back to my university with my daughter was just like so full circle for me, because again, it was a huge milestone because I did it on my terms. So that is my milestone. Laura, what about you?
That's awesome, because we talked about education, and that was honestly the first thing that came to mind. My milestone is also school, and I didn't think it would be. So I was really proud of graduating CEGEP. I'd taken a longer time in CEGEP than my peers did. I went in continuing education, and I went into university in psychology because my mom didn't want me to be in music, and I really wanted to be in music. So when I ended up taking the longer time and succeeding, I was like I was able to show you guys that I was capable of doing this, and I paid for my own education because we weren't in a very good place financially. And I was on my way to university in honors in psychology. And then I was like, you know what? I want to do what I want now. I want to do what calls for me, what makes my soul feel filled. And so it wasn't much the graduation, but more the fact that I knew I could do it. And now I could do what I wanted, and that I had proven to everyone in my family that I was capable of doing this. And if I ever wanted to come back to psychology again, I could, and I've proven that to you.
Woohoo!
So that was the milestone for me. So hearing you guys talking about education, that was, I want to say it's not education, but it is.
And that's totally okay. I love that. I think what I was trying to say about like, oh no, it's a capitalist milestone is more like how we see that piece of paper as legitimacy.
Yeah.
And that's the piece that I don't want us to celebrate. We are legitimate whether we have that paper or not, but absolutely let's celebrate those like struggles to get through our education and those cultural struggles of just like, I want to pick what I decide. It's okay, mom, dad, if I don't want to be a nurse, lawyer, or a doctor, right?
Mhm.
And also that it could take time too, right? Because
Yeah.
society and the capitalistic world basically says you have to finish it in 3 years and you are
Mhm.
XYZ or wrong or shamed if you don't. So
Yeah.
again, do it to a certain degree, doing it at your own pace is
Mhm.
also okay, is what I would like people to take away from that as well.
So we're going to be expanding to this conversation later on, but before we move forward, let's go listen to
some music. So first up we got Bathala by Joey Ayala, and the second song is Kan Lungan by Noel Cabangon. And after that we have Hol Doyon Kui Diwata by Grace Nono. Enjoy.
Likha ninyo ang bawat bagay sa mundo. Lupang kayo manggit lunti ang bukirin. Alat ng dagat at tamis ng hangin. Bathala ang bawat bagay na nagmula sa inyong palad ay may tungkulin sa mundong kinagisnan. Sa pagtupad nito ang lahat ay tinitimbang. Ang tao inyong hinugis sa pinaahon sa lupa, pinagkalooban ng talino at diwa upang mundo'y ipagyaman. Talino, naging ararong nagpaamo sa parang, naging kumpit na sumagupa sa karagatan, naging apoy na nagpalayas sa karimlan. Sagana sa kayamanan ng mundong inyong likha, at may bahagi rito ang bawat nilalang, kung susuyuin lang mula sa kalikasan. Subalit buhay dalisay ay di sapat sa ilan. Sila'y nasilaw sa kinanggang kasakiman. Ganit na Diyos ang sinamba. Pinaghahati-hatian po nilang lupa, karagatan at himpapawid, ngayoy may bakod na. Kapwa-tao't hayop may inaagawan ng tahanan. Walang nakaliligtas sa kanilang karahasan. Kaunlaran at kabutihan daw ang kanilang sadya. Subalit ang lumilitaw ay sang panggagahasa. Bathala hugis nyo't pinaahon sa lupa. Ang aking buhay ay dito nagmula at dito rin inaalay. Bathala, bigyang lakas itong inyong tanod lupa upang umiral sa mapagsamantala. Panalangin ko'y inyong dinggin, Hari nawa. Bathala.
ng ating gunita. Ang mga puno at halaman, bakit kailangang lumisan? Panapanahon ng pagkakataon, may babalik ba ang kahapon?
Holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, bekesang, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beligun, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beglung, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan besludoy, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekumbing, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan benumbu, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beklintang, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekesal, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekada. Mapuri ka sa ating dakilang manlilikha. Umawit at tumula, tumugtugan sa kamagsaya. Magpuri ka sa ating dakilang manlilikha. Umawit at tumula, tumugtugan sa kamaksayaw. Holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, bekesang, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beligun, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beglung, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan besludoy, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekumbing, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan benumbu, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan beklintang, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekesal, holdoyon, kuidwata, holdoyon, lan bekada.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Marvin Reyes. I am a youth leader and a community organizer here bringing you important news back home with the Philippines. The article is from Rappler with the title, Maria Ressa holds Philippine launch on how to stand up to a dictator. Nobel laureate and Rappler CEO Maria Ressa, fresh from a global world introducing her book, How to Stand Up to a Dictator, launched it in the Philippines at Estancia Mall at Capitol Commons in Pasig City on Saturday, December 10th, the International Day for Human Rights. Guest presence at the event included retired Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio, Karapatan Secretary General Cristina Palabay, economist Winnie Monsod, and architect Paulo Alcazaren. Journalists Tina Monzon Palma, Howie Severino, and Karen Davila were also in attendance. In a speech during the launch, award-winning writer Jose Dalisay praised the book as being the best non-fiction work of the year. We identified with her travails, shared her anger and sadness at the abuse she has received, and rejoiced in her victories. whether in the courts in the larger sphere of public opinion, Dalisay said. He continued, but how well do we really know Maria Ressa and whatever drives her to be who and what she is? This book takes us to the person behind the phenomenon and answers many questions we may have had about her and her stubborn advocacies. Among the battles and advocacies Ressa takes up in her book include exposing networks of disinformation across the globe. By drawing links from the former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war to Brexit in the United Kingdom, Russian and Chinese cyber warfare, Facebook and Silicon Valley, and how these ties to individuals, own online presence and votes, Ressa underscored the first way to combat the dangers of social media was to be aware of its pitfalls. It is by design a lying machine, Ressa said during the launch. Today, the commodity is our own human attention, human emotions, and we are not protected. Do we want to live in a world where lies are rewarded? After awareness, Ressa said focus should be placed on stopping coded bias, which further marginalized groups such as women and people of color online. Alongside this, independent journalism as the antidote to tyranny was needed to strengthen democracies. Journalists are trained to stand up to power, that's what we needed. We need to continue doing that, Ressa said. Today, the commodity is our human attention, human emotions, and we are not protected. Do you want to live in a world where lies are rewarded? Ressa added. Part memoir and a novel also shows Ressa charting a career by holding power to account and the path she took to get there. But why take an intimate tone and share her personal story, an approach often avoided by journalists? Ressa said it is because the battle for democracy had become personal. I know the moment it became personal when I was arrested. I moved from being a journalist to being a citizen, and citizens should not be treated like this, she said. Stories of Ressa's move to America and later her return home to the Philippines, the tough calls she made as a journalist covering Southeast Asia as a head of news and current affairs of ABS-CBN, give an inside look not only at the Nobel laureate's life but also journalism in the Philippines. You don't know who you are until you're forced to fight for it. How do you decide what to fight for? Sometimes it's not your choice. You leave your where into it because the sum of all your choices brings you to that point, Ressa wrote. How to stand up to a dictator brings readers into Ressa's personal thoughts and the tough questions she confronted as Rappler faced harassment and a slew of legal attacks from the Duterte administration. As of December 2022, there are at least 7 active cases pending in court against Maria, Rappler's directors, and former researcher, including a closure order initiated by the previous Duterte administration. Philippine media and global advocates have also included these as part of attempts to stifle criticism and press freedom. Praised as searing, vital, and urgent, Ressa's book is for anyone who might take democracy for granted, written by someone who never would. As Ressa herself stressed on the day, this time matters, this is it. The article is written on December 11, 2022. Thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Once again, this is John Marvin Reyes delivering you Philippine news from abroad.
Welcome back, everyone. Nakikinig po kayo sa Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. This is Veronica speaking, and mabuhay to everyone. So we're jumping into our, of course, questions. But for today, our guest is actually us. So we are going to be asking ourselves, my co-host Franz, Des, and then our audio engineer Laura about what was a significant episode for us, you know? So I start with Des, actually. What was a significant episode for you?
Oh my God, how do you choose? That's like
There's a lot.
saying like, who's your favorite niece or nephew? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many episodes. I mean, but if I had to choose one, or the one that's really sticking out to me, it was the interview that we did with Kat Daka, the negotiation expert and educator. And it was what she had said about how whenever that voice of doubt comes into your mind, whenever you start to doubt yourself or question that you're not enough, if you sit with it long enough, you'll start asking, whose voice is that? And the longer you sit, oftentimes, or in most cases, you'll realize that that voice is the voice of the colonizer. So just for some context, Kat Daka is a negotiation consultant, an educator, helping folks negotiate and use their voice. And her education is rooted in decolonization and helping folks of color just, stand true to themselves and their voice and their power. So that episode, just like there were so many mic drops and explosions in my mind. And I always think of Kat whenever that voice does come up for me, whenever I'm like, oh my God, you're not certified enough, or you have to go back to school. And we were talking about school earlier, you have to go back to school. You need your bachelor's is not enough. You have to get a master's or a PhD, or you're not qualified enough. I'm like, well, wait, hold on. Let me take a step back now. Whose voice is that? And usually it's like, okay, it's society, it's my parents. But then I sit with it a little bit longer, and it is that voice of the colonizer. And anytime I feel that, and I'm like, screw that, screw you, colonizer. And then I'll go back in, and it gives me this boost of confidence and energy. So yes, I would say the episode with Kat Daka. So thank you, Kat, for that beautiful nugget of information.
I call it the Ate Madiskate educator, because that's essentially it, right? Like teaching us how to negotiate, advocate for ourselves. Like you gotta be Madiskate for everything. Like you gotta be Madiskate in terms of advocating. No, this is what it is. Madiskate in ways of communicating and negotiating, let's say with your wages. So yeah, the Ate Madiskate. Oh, it even rhymes. I don't know.
We're gonna make stickers now.
Ate Madiskate.
Yeah.
It really does sound right.
Good idea.
Right. So how about Laura, are you ready to share yours?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I have a few actually.
yeah, I have a few too. It's hard to just like narrow it down to one.
Yeah. So first the Undas and All Souls Day episode, where we talked about celebrating the dead and our ancestors. That one really got to my heartstrings, and realizing that that was something that we could do. That was a possibility that had ever existed. And then Rebecca Manangkil with the alternative and holistic health, like humming to yourself and the sounds. That was that was awesome for me. And then Alex Punzalan about staying true to yourself and to your ancestors in an industry that is very rocky. That all of that was like everything to me. And I think that's why I'm on the Radyo. It's to meet these people and hear these perspectives and learn these things that I didn't know before, that are really helping me stay strong within myself and within my community and know my role. Yeah.
I feel you, Laura. I really love that piece where Alex was sharing that, like, he just, as much as being a Filipino in the music industry is like super challenging, he kind of still did whatever mainstream work to sustain himself, sustain his family, but then was always kind of dabbling, and more than dabbling, into like Filipino pre-colonial music or reclaiming what that looks like. So for those who don't know, Alex Punzalan is actually the person who discovered Han Han, right? So Han Han is an amazing Filipina rapper based in Toronto. She's a rapper and nurse. That's how she identifies. And like, he was the one who discovered her and was like, hey, you could still do nursing and have this time and this pocket of like doing Filipino music. And then like, because he stayed true to himself for so long, eventually down the line, like the world catches up, right? And then the world was like, hey, we need specialists in pre-colonial Filipino sounds. And he was like, that's me. He's like, oh yeah, it's me now, you know? Yeah. So like, you don't realize that. And it was like the same thing for me when I was kind of deciding to study mental health and like therapy and counseling and what that meant. I was always like, no, but I want to heal like my colonial wounds, and what does that look like? And everyone at school thought I was weird. And then like fast forward like 5 years, 6 years, 8 years later, and folks are like, wait, France, don't Filipinos need a particular kind of healing? And that looks different. And I'm like, yes, and I understand it, and I know it. That's me. You know, so I thought that was really, really, really cute. So that stood out for me too with Alex, Laura. I totally feel you.
While you're at it, France, what is the significant episode for you?
Fine, I'll go. So I think, I don't know if folks at home know this, but we pre-record these episodes, right? It's a little bit different from back in the day when we would go into studio. And I think also just because of the pandemic and all that, the studio is still shut down. And it's like this different thing where you have to book studio time. So in respect of like everybody's schedules and like everybody's busy lives, the team that you hear weekly actually only gathers every few weeks or so, usually on a Sunday morning, in our pajamas and our sleepy faces with our coffee and our San Kapwa mugs. And then like we record a few episodes all together, right? And it's the amazing Laura and Justin who kind of put it together weekly for us. So we're really, really grateful for that. But yeah, all that to say that I don't know if folks realize, but we pre-record these episodes and sometimes we speak to people back to back. So I think one milestone or significant moment for me is that folks don't realize there are certain conversations we had back to back that ended up feeding into each other. So my heart was really, really, really full from the interview with Ate Brenda Alegre, Dr. Brenda Alegre, followed by Alios Abis, and then followed by Alex Punzalan, right? So it was just like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is so good. And then the third interview, you're like, oh my goodness, you know? So like folks listen to it on a different basis, but those three conversations were had back to back and they were so powerful. So for someone like me who acknowledges that I totally have like heterosexual, heteronormative privilege. I walk through this world as like a hetero woman who has the nuclear family of like mom, dad, and a kid. I'm constantly aware of the fact that I need to keep queering myself, queering my life, queering my politics because heteronormativity harms everyone. So it was just really beautiful to have Dr. Brenda Alegre here telling us that, you know, we have beautiful queer ancestors, we have beautiful transcestors who were honored and celebrated in our pre-colonial culture, and who were actually honored and celebrated even more because they were understood to have access to a wider spectrum of healing, of energy, you know? So we need female healers, we need medicine women to kind of counteract all this juju from toxic patriarchy and living in toxic patriarchy. But the reality is that I think that our liberation in general is going to come from our queer and trans Kapwa because they are showing us a whole other way of being, right? And I think that's why it's so scary for the mainstream. Like, if you look at who is the most oppressed in our society, it's usually like trans Black women or trans Indigenous women, right? And I think that goes back to pre-colonial times because they're so powerful. They are so powerful in just their being and showing us that there's another way to do things that isn't within the constraints of white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. And then you follow that by having a discussion with Alios Abis, who has those same politics, who understands that same magic from our cultures, and is applying it as a settlement counselor, right? Because we think that doing these spiritual things for our healing is just like this funny juju, but no, it actually feeds the work we do every day to also help our Kapwa heal. So I really love that conversation with him about like how he brings that those politics and those values into his settlement work, and how even like the newly arrived titos and titas who don't have that language, it creates a bridge, right? So I remember him saying something like, a tita who had just arrived was like, oh, I have a niece or I have a nephew who's like you. You know, it's like they don't have the language, but they're like,
katulad mo.
Yeah,
Ganyan
katulad
parang
mo.
ka.
And like, let's help them, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that bridge of maybe we don't understand yet in the mainstream how magical our queer and trans community is. But they're there and they're continuing to do the magic. And then you close that up with a conversation with Alex. And then, yeah, just sidebar, like Alex's partner, Jen Maramba, is like a dear, dear friend of mine who's actually helped me through a lot of healing. So yeah, it was like that whole conversation was really magical. And I was like floating after those 3 episodes. So So that's
there was a lot of feelings in it. Like
Yeah.
you gotta go take a walk for it. One of the thing, this is applicable to all of the episodes, but when as a newcomer, when you came in here, I was exposed to I was no longer exposed to that Filipino sphere, right? Because I was in the mainland. Most of the media that I consumed was in the Philippines, to the point where I thought Selena was Filipina. Oh my
I
goodness.
love that you thought that Selena was
I'm just like,
Filipino.
she probably is in some provinces where she speaks another language. That's why I don't understand it a little bit, but she just plays everywhere. My mom is obsessed with her too. So, and then I was here and everyone's just like, what do you mean? Like, Selena actually had to learn Spanish because she's American. And I'm like, oh crap. Like, all of my my thoughts and ideas, I'm like, there's another world out there. So it was like a complete shock to me, not just culture shock to me. And one thing was missing is that representation, right? When we were younger, we shared one dinosaur computer as well. So it was really hard to not only stay connected to your representation where you feel at most at peace at home, but also we just don't have internet, right? Like, and you gotta go share that. So I was really, I would say I would echo the same thing, especially with Dr. Brenda Alegre and Alias, as queer myself and as visibly queer myself. Like, the representation is really important. And with all of these episodes that we've done, I know it's just like what episode, but I'm like, it's episodes, is really just opening a lot of doors to everyone else and being like, yeah, Filipinos, Filipinas, Filipinx are like this. We are everywhere. You just need to know who we are. You just need to actually open your heart a bit and see that, like, oh, the one who gave you your Tim Hortons coffee, Filipino. Who doesn't look like one? Filipino. The one who, like, gave you your vaccine, the one who did the med tech people, were everywhere. So I really like the fact that with our episodes, and also like really props to France for exposing us to also a lot of different like guests from your connections, from other connections, from our connections as well, because this is, again, like, we're literally building a community again, and this is more in the purest intention, like the purest intention ever, to just build community, makikikapwa. And I truly enjoyed it. I think the one that I enjoyed the most would be where we talk about pride, but also where we talked about being Filipino enough, right? I think that's the conversation that has always been missing growing up as a Filipina woman. You need to have your hair done like this. You need to have pulbos on your hair, your face. You need to wear vestida. That's why I'm always trying to really have my own representation, because I know someone out there, even if it's just one person, if I were to provide you with some sense of confidence of me being queer, then I hope that that, yes, the ate kuya, we can do it too, so I don't have a specific one, but if I were to choose, it would be in what the Filipino Enough episode. I think that's episode 3.
I know, as you're naming all your episodes, I'm like, right? Like, we can't pick a favorite. They're all so amazing in their own ways.
Yeah. So there we go. That is the significant episodes for us, because, we don't really follow the rules. It's like, what episodes? Like, no, it's everything. Everyone deserves to be honored. So thank you for all those who still listening to us. You're listening to 90.3 CKUT FM. Mabuhay.
Hey, Justin once again. Up next, we got some more great music. First off, Rotonda by Glock 9 and Joy Ayala. After that, we have Babae Ka by Hanhan. Enjoy.
Kaliwa mano kanan ang iyong daanan, iisa lang ang papupuntahan. Dito hagdanan na may labasan, ang lahat ay daraanan na parang rotonda.
Ang tawag nila sa akin ay Congressman Lup-Lup. Makapangyarihan palaging nasa tuktok. Kahit magnanakaw ako'y iniluluklok. Kasing nungalingan lang ang idinudukdok. Ako ay may asawang ang dating ay parang artista. Mga anak na atinistadla sa lista. Iyan mahalaga, ako ay may problema. Laging nananaginip, isa lamang ang istorya. Ako daw ay taga-Lerma, may asawa na si Telma. Ang aking palayo ay boy, libangan ko ay pusoy. Kamay ko laging may eksema. Sila ko lang aking mga anak, nene at totoy na nakayapa. Teka, tanghali na pala, medyo nakakatawa. Gising ang pamilya,
hagdanan na malabasan. Ang lahat ay daraanan na parang rotonda lang.
Maraming kaugali si Congressman Lup-Lup. Pag nagalit basta na lamang nanununtok. Ang lahat ng kanyang kayaman ay gabundok. Pag naunahan sa traffic ay nanunutok. Siya ay may kalaguyo na gustong maging artista. Kung umasta ay elitista. Walang patid na dilema sa kanyang panaginip. Ako ang kanyang asawa, isang dakilang labandera. Ang pangalan ko ay Telma. Tawagin mo na nga si Boy. Naglalaro ng pusoy, baka ipatalo ang pera. Para pagkain ng mga anak, nene at tutoy na umiiyak. May pag-asa pa kaya lahat na naitaya sa buhay namin ay iniiyak.
Ang iyong daanan, iisa lang ang papupuntahan. Di dito hagdanan na malabasan. Ang lahat ay daraanan na parang rotonda lang.
Ikot, ulit, ikot, ulit, ikot.
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 Parang rotonda lang.
Ganon pa din ang panaginip na umuulit. Pag huminto ay siguradong may karugtong naguhit. Tuloy-tuloy hanggang sa aking mabuo ng madaanan ng lugar. Alam kung saan hihinto. At pili ko na parang ako ay taga roon. Pabili po may bata na gusto ng pulburon. Sa lugar na masukal at madilim, mamasama sa pinto na parang gustong katukin. Ano nga kaya matandang babae nang tumingin? Maluha-luha ako'y sinimulan niyang sagutin. At tulala kung hinahanap mo si Boy. Matagal na siyang tinaboy. Bababa sa lupa, anim na talampakang kumunoy. Dinakot siya ng pulis sa madaming kadahilanan. Kaso na sa totoo lang ay ayaw kong malaman. Kahit parang alam ko na mahirap ang magtaka dahil buhay namin di naman nalalayo sa iba. Nakakangawit, tumasa, nakakapagod mangarap. Mata na parang itim na ulap sa alapaap. Aambon ng ulan hanggang sa mamugto pa ulit-ulit ang eksena. Kahit bago ang yugto sa palabas na ang bida ay paghihirap at bono sa araw-araw ng maraming sigurang kumukulo. Nakulong na si Totoy, si Nene naman ay bayaran. Tanaw sa bukas ng marami sa amin. Ganito na lang, lumangoy sa panaghoy. Sa panaghoy ka lumangoy, bali-balik ta rin man na parang baraha sa pusoy. Di bagay dito ang tisoy, sarili ko ay tinaboy. Parang napaso ng apoy nang tawagin niya akong boy.
Babae, ikaw ay isang silungan na mula sa bumus na walang buhay gala. Nagbibigay ng direksyon sa nawala. Mahalaga, kumare, nakamamangha ang biyag mong ganda. Na hindi lang sa dikit ng iyong mukha, kundi pati sa puso mo't kaluluwa. Mga lalaki sa iyo'y sumasamba. Naaabas sa iyong dangal, ano ba? Aminin na, sabihin na. Ang ganda ko, no? Ang ganda ko. 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 Sinong panalo? Sinong diwata? Sino ang hari? Ang bakunawa? Isang bituin? Makapangyarihan? Ano ba? Aminin na. Babae, mismis na sanggol sa iyong mga bisig. Bubog sa iyong pagmamahal, ika'y magisig. Bumangon ka sa pagkadapa. Kumare, ikaw ay inaasawa at anak. Kasuyuan, kapatid at kaibigan. Ika'y pinuno, mamamayan, tagapagtanggol, isang sandigan. Ang ganda ko, no? Ang ganda ko. Hindi lang ilaw ng tahanan, eh. Ang papel mo ginagampanan. Nasa kamay mo ang lipunan, eh. Ikaw ay ilaw ng sambayanan. Sa lawahan man ang iyong bansag, eh. Sa paniniwala mo ika'y tapat, eh. Di lang ilaw ng tahanan. Ang papel mo ginagampanan. Nasa kamay mo ang lipunan. Ikaw ay ilaw ng sambayanan. Babae ka, lumaban ka, huwag kalimutan. Babae ka, ang ganda ko, no? Ang ganda mo. 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 Babae ka, lumaban ka, mahalaga. Babae ka, babae ka.
Welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to Radio Kapwa, CKUT 90.3 FM. This is Justin bringing you community announcements. Today, December 14th, for the youth ages 11 years old to 18, there are 3 activities organized by Chalet Kent, starting with 4 p.m. free dancing, 4:30 p.m. video games, and 5 p.m. drawing class. For more information, check out their Instagram at Chalet Kent to see their calendar of activities for the month. Tonight as well, Pan Asian Collective is hosting their last Asian book group for the year from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Frigo Vert, that's 1440 McKay Street. Check their Instagram bio at PAC Montreal for more details. Speaking of Frigo Vert, the Survival Camp and folks at Resilience Montreal Day Shelter are urgently seeking winter boots and jackets for donation and can be dropped at Frigo Vert until December 15th. For another community event, Bienvenue à NDG is hosting a Mexican Christmas tradition this Friday, December 16th, 2022. It is a mandatory registration, so please make sure to reserve your spot by checking out the link on their Instagram bio at Bienvenue NDG. If you missed the general registration for Pinoy's on Parliament, a yearly Filipinx Youth Leadership Conference, make sure to register for waitlists especially. Check out their Instagram bio at Pinoy's on Parliament to register. While you're at it, Pinoy's on Parliament is asking for a donation to fund and keep February 2023 Youth Leadership Conference event free for all. If you're interested, check out their link in their IG bio at Pinoy's on Parliament. Lastly, if you're looking to bring a Filipino dessert to your Christmas holiday party, consider supporting Dre's Pies, available for pickup at Cafe Kuya when you order before December 17th. For more details, DM at Cafe Kuya or send them an email at info@cafekuya.com. Once again, you're listening to Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. Have a nice week and take care. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Liberation for one is liberation for all of us.